the people you spend time with really determines your results in life. And so that is why I always take the opportunity to spend time with high achievers, because I know that it pays off in droves.
You're listening to the She Renovates podcast. You're listening to She Renovates, the podcast for women who want to renovate to create an income and a life they love.
Hello, renovators. It's Bernadette, and I am recording this, our last episode of She Renovates, from our Airbnb studio in Paris. So I'm here with David and Stephen. David and Stephen have just ducked out for a few minutes. They've headed over to the Latin Quarter, and so I thought I'd take the opportunity to get this last episode done. Stephen and I have just finished an epic 2-week tour of Egypt with some of our business blueprint friends, a group of entrepreneurs who are the best company to be with. You know the saying, the people you spend time with really determines your results in life. And so that is why I always take the opportunity to spend time with high achievers, because I know that it pays off in droves. And I think what I'm going to be talking about in this episode is really a result of some of the conversations and the thinking that we have put in the last 2 weeks. So I'm about to announce something quite exciting, something that nobody else in our business or our industry is doing, and something that I know that you are going to love. But before I do that, I want to give you some context. So there's probably 3 things that have fed into this decision. The first one is that 2023 has been quite a difficult year for us, and thanks to 12 successive interest rate rises, it's made a difference to the economic environment and has made business quite challenging. And when that happens, you do really check in with yourself to make sure that the path you are on is the right path. Now, what we have done is really looked at how we're operating and whether we're operating in our genius zone. And the decision we came up with was that we're not, and that we should be making more time for projects. Now, I always tread a fine line between really delivering value and remaining profitable. So I'm just giving you a little bit of the background of, what it's like to run one of these businesses. Now, I know that many of the women and men in our audience have the entrepreneurial spirit. So you understand the challenges of being an entrepreneur. And so we made the decision that we are not allowing enough time for projects so that we can do those in a way where we operate at our best. The other thing that we've been thinking about is that many people who come into our program come in with the view of flipping, but there seems to be this inconsistency in that new people into our program want to flip, and yet it's the highest risk strategy. And so I've always really, been concerned about that, how that meshes together. And the third thing that feeds into this decision is that I would love to have $1 for every time someone has asked me if they can work on our projects, shadow us, and so get the sense of what's involved without the risk. And so as a result, we have made the decision to make an adjustment to how we operate. And this is how it's going to go. So basically now in 2024, if someone comes into our program new, that they will have the opportunity to do their first project with us. So, of course, you would be aware of our class project initiative. We just want to expand that a bit. So we already have one coming together in Melbourne. My goal is to have them in various locations, different locations around the country, with the view to someone who's new to renovating might get the opportunity to be part of one of those projects, and so have that experience of doing a project, and these will be short-term lump sum profit projects, flips, without the risk. And so how we are going to manage that is we will put together class projects. Now, we're not going to have 10 at once or even 3 or 4 at once. We'll do them one at a time. But the idea is that we will give you the opportunity to come along on the ride with us. And then when we've finished that project, the profit will be shared. And then if you want to go off and do your own project, if you've been part of one that's in your city, you will already have the team and the process ready to go. So usually when you are starting from scratch, you've got to basically figure out everything from scratch. You have to figure out the accounting issues, the legal structure issues, sourcing the project, putting together your trade team, getting your floor plans done, doing your mood boards, and then executing the project. So on your first project, you won't have to do any of that. You'll just get to be part of the project where we execute every step of the way. And the outcome of that will be, so we always focus our projects on making 100,000 profit per project, but we won't be guaranteeing that profit because, as you know, property is fickle. And so we assume that we will make that project profit every project. Some will make more, some might make a bit less, but what we will be guaranteeing is your capital. So what money you put in, we will be guaranteeing that you get that back. So it's at no risk to you. So if you're considering joining one of these projects, it would be wise to have a conversation with your accountant or financial advisor to check that you may be able to invest via your self-managed super fund. It's not something I can tell you outright because that's giving you financial advice, but I understand that may be a possibility. So those projects will be group projects. And so coming into our program doesn't mean you have to be part of those projects, but if you're keen to get started on a project, then the opportunity will be there. Of course, it will take a bit of organisation. You know, sometimes it does take a while to get people organised into joint venture projects, but that we will be the ones doing the work on that. You won't have to be concerned about the establishment. You're there to learn. So, and that opportunity will be available to anyone coming into one of our programs. With anything we offer, Wonder Women Diamonds always have first priority, and, you know, down the scale we go. Important to note that we have eliminated some, not really eliminated, but consolidated my commitments on group calls and so on in order to free up time to be able to do that. We'll honour the commitments we make to our students, and it will be done in such a way that it's consolidated onto basically we'll be batching the time, so it frees me up to work on the projects. So as you know, or you may not know, Stephen, who's been in construction for 40 years, had retired in the last year or so. And so that really increases our capacity for projects. I should mention, Stephen is a far better teacher than I am, but by the by, it'll be great to have him on those projects. The minimum investment in those projects will be $50,000. And that's mainly because we are governed by some rules around joint venture projects about how much money can be in it and how many people can be in it and how long it takes. We will be giving those projects our full attention so they're done quickly. My goal is to complete them in 4 to 6 weeks. They will be cosmetic plus renovations. Now, the other type of joint venture we plan to implement is a buy and hold strategy. It's a high cash flow buy and hold strategy that responds to a need in the community. At our Wonder Women boardroom towards the end of the year, we heard from Marion Mays, who is a property strategist and buyer's agent and who is specialising in affordable accommodation for women in Victoria. And basically the types of projects that she does are new builds where in Victoria you're able to provide accommodation for 9 women in one house or 9 people in one house. And the type of accommodation is very dignified. So each woman has a beautiful new bedroom with a kitchenette and an ensuite and also an outdoor area. So there are common spaces in the house, but they have their own privacy and therefore are able to live with dignity. And the other great thing about this strategy, it's called a 1B conversion, or 1B building, which relates to the building classification. The other great thing about this, it's affordable for people on the pension, and it is also high cash flow. So my understanding is the cash flow can be between 10 and 15%. So it's pretty much a win-win. Now, the cost of these projects in regional areas is sub $1 million, and in metropolitan areas it's closer to $2 million. So my goal is to increase the availability in regional areas, mainly because I grew up in the country and I can see the need, but to offer you the opportunity to invest in a project rather than putting in the whole $1 or $2 million. What this also means is if there is a woman who is needs affordable accommodation, might have an amount of money, that woman may be able to invest in her own home. So there's lots of upsides to that. Now, of course, this is a longer term strategy and as such requires a bit more nutting out of the possible issues that could arise with it. But I certainly intend to have at least our first one of these projects up during this year or during 2024. And you will not need to be a member of our paid community to join this project. However, or these projects, however, preference, as I mentioned before, will always be given to our diamonds first, then Launchpad Starter, 100K. And then if there are spaces left, then it will be given to our podcast audience. So that involves everyone. I would really love to be doing lots of these projects, but I just need to take it carefully moving forward to make sure that we iron out possible issues that could arise. And I'm sure you would understand that when you are, you have groups of people investing together, there can be some issues. So we want to make sure that we have done a fairly solid risk assessment and figured it out. So I don't know about you, whether you find that exciting, but I am incredibly excited about it. I'm always excited about a new project, and I love the fact that we may be able to, one, give new renovators that experience, sort of like work experience without the risk, and or two, making a difference to people in our community who are not doing so well. As I'm sure I've mentioned many times, in Australia, women over 50, there are about 500,000 women over 45, actually, I think it is, who are at risk of homelessness. And that's absolutely not okay. So by being able to provide a decent, dignified way of living, I think is a really amazing thing. So that's about all I've got to share with you at the moment. Obviously more detail will become available as we move on into the year, but I'd really love to know what you think about it. Now, if you want to know more about how it's going to operate, can I suggest that you book into our next Profitable Renovator webinar? We haven't set the date for that yet, but it will be happening very early in 2024, and I'll be able to shed a lot more light on it then. But now all there is to do is to wish you a very Merry Christmas and an exciting and a prosperous new year. Christmas can be have mixed feelings for many people. So, I guess I never really assume that everyone's as excited about it as we are. But I really do hope that 2024 brings you everything that you hope for. So that's me signing off for today. If you would like to continue the conversation, come over to She Renovates Facebook group, and I'd be happy to engage in a conversation there about what's next for us. So take care.
This is the She Renovates podcast. To discover how to harness the power of renovating, check out theschoolofrenovating.com.